They say that there is a Lakshman Rekha that shouldn't have been crossed. Did Udhayanidhi really cross the line of political decency? More on this, I'm joined by a special guest on this edition of Live Report. Daughter of the late leader Sushma Swaraj, Bansuri Swaraj, is joining us on this edition. Ms. Bansuri Swaraj, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV. Let me straight away begin by asking you. You followed the footsteps of your mother. Your mother has largely been seen as a leader who was accessible, a leader who was just a tweet away, many would say. Bansuri Swaraj, when do you see that during election campaigning, political leaders forget about the Lakshman Rekha? Political leaders go ahead, they overstep. Does this hurt you, or you would say that in the election heat, this happens?
No, I think such kinds of irresponsible statements, which are blatantly false, definitely cross over the Lakshmana Rekha, and I don't think that such a line ought to be crossed, especially when Udhayanidhi ji harbors the kind of ambitions that he has. He needs to be far more responsible. It's unbecoming of him.
Let me then ask you this question. We have seen how Sushma Swaraj has also campaigned in the past. You know, there have been leaders who've largely been seen as well respected, even cutting across party lines. Do you think that has really changed today, that people have become very bitter in their political discourse?
I don't think that is true. I mean, I would say that the bitterness in campaign, Mrs. N, comes when people run out of issues. Clearly, when you feel that, you know, the forces of defeat are actually standing and waiting in the wings for you, that is when you start making such false statements and you start taking the help of lies to propel forward your campaign. See, political issues should be the foundation of elections. At best, maybe ideological differences. But you need to draw that line. You need to adhere to some kind of discipline. And I still feel that there are leaders, especially like our Prime Minister, who are still respected across party lines. The bitterness, I think that might be an individualistic trait.
Udhayanidhi, on the other hand, Ms. Bansuri Swaraj, he says that this was in reaction to what the Prime Minister had said in his campaign, saying that the Prime Minister himself has been extremely bitter. Do you think that's a valid argument to begin with?
I don't think so. You cannot retaliate with a lie. This was a false statement. The Prime Minister has been supportive of every endeavor that my mother undertook as the foreign minister of this country. See, whether it was intervention in the fishermen issues of Tamil Nadu, or whether it was carrying forward rescue operations like Rahat or Sankat Mochan, or even, you know, going up to international courts for Commander Jadhav's case. This was all done by the consent, with the inspiration and with the support of the Prime Minister. I would reiterate that there was an, you know, Mr. Udhayanidhi had actually used words like torture, duress. I would like to correct him that Sushma Swaraj, Arun Jaitley and Narendra Modi are very seasoned leaders. They only work towards the betterment of this country. There was no pressure, there was no torture. What did exist was bonhomie, camaraderie, excellence and friendship. And that's what you saw, the kind of things that the Modi government has delivered. That is why they have bounced back with an even bigger majority, correct?
Would you say then an apology is enough, or you think a damage has been done? Because after all, you're talking about a leader who's not only been respected here in India, but also she's been a global leader. So today, talking about a global leader in the manner Udhayanidhi has done, do you think an apology would suffice?
Look, an apology is definitely due to our Honorable Prime Minister. As far as damage is concerned, certainly the damage has been done to the DMK. And if you are asking me what will suffice, then I appeal to the people of Tamil Nadu because their verdict will suffice. They need to cast their vote in favor of the BJP and show that these kind of false claims will not go down well with the people of Tamil Nadu. It is the people's court, their verdict in the form of an electoral victory, that is what will suffice.
Ms. Swaraj, I'll also like to take the liberty of asking you this question because not often do we get an opportunity to interview you. You know, you've worked very closely with your mother, you've followed her footsteps. I'm assuming that Ms. Swaraj, when she was alive, she must have spoken a lot about her political campaigns. Was she ever, surprised or disappointed with the kind of political discourse? Any anecdote that you would like to share with our viewers today?
See, my mother's brand of politics was very positive. And I will be very honest, anything negative for her was like water off a duck's back. So there are no anecdotes of any bitterness or any negative campaign. But I can definitely tell you that if you're talking about me working very closely, then yes, I actually gave my first political nara at the age of 2. And she only had happy memories.
So is there anything with regards to, say, the kind of political discourse she may have had with the opposition leaders? Did she ever share with you any backroom talks, something light-hearted talks, even though there may have been some very political bitterness on the stage, but behind the scenes you've had a leader who's been extremely charismatic. Across party lines, she was well respected. So there has to be something more to her charisma. How did she actually, carry on with the kind of political campaigning that she did during her days?
I think she ensured that she only concentrated on her work. She spoke about development issues. She spoke about grassroots issues. And regarding anything, any kind of repartee that took place on the House of Parliament, she ensured that she gave it back. And I think she was very, very good at Shero Shairi. So, we've all seen the videos when she gave it back to Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav or she gave it back to the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. She was extremely witty and she was extremely good at, defending herself if any kind of negativity was passed on to her. And Mr. Sen, that is what is extremely disheartening about this statement, that Udayji actually spoke about 2 leaders who are not here present themselves to answer his derogatory statements. It is like I said, it was very unfortunate, it was false, and it was extremely disheartening.
Well, one last question, Ms. Swaraj, because while I was doing my research, I've come across several tweets by people from Tamil Nadu who've been helped by Sushma Swaraj. Do you think these kind of statements perhaps is not going to go down well with especially the youth in Tamil Nadu? Because remember the kind of outreach Sushma Swaraj had when she was a Minister of External Affairs. Do you think this is going to backfire massively on the ground?
It will certainly backfire, and that is why I have appealed to the people of Tamil Nadu, because today's voter is very aware, they are extremely sensible, and I know that they will not become party to the falsehoods which are being actually propped up in the name of campaign by Udhayanidhi ji. So it will certainly backfire.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Bansuri Swaraj, for speaking to Republic TV. It was indeed a pleasure. Once again, the question about political decency, that's where this entire bone of contention is all about. And as Bansuri Swaraj was essentially talking about her mother, who's been loved by many, now not just within her own political party, but across political parties, here was a leader who was respected cutting across party lines.